Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. We greet you on it is for me still the first day of Ramadan, but by the time this video is on the internet, it will be the second day of Ramadan. We greet you with Ramadan Kareem, and the reply would be Allahu Akram. For those of you who are in Europe, for example, in North America, in the Caribbean, no one saw the moon. No one saw the moon anywhere. In the Arab world, no one saw the moon. Yes. Pakistan, no one saw the moon. The only sighting of the moon that we have received was from San Diego on the western coast of the United States. But that was not a sighting of the moon with the naked eye, not a normal sighting. They use instruments to sight the moon. And so we are on very, very safe foundations when we say that the month of Ramadan did not commence until the night which followed the day of Saturday, Yawm al-Sabt, which was last night. And so today is the first day of Ramadan, Yawm al-Ahad, Sunday. And by the time this video reaches you, it will be the second day of Ramadan. So if you commenced your fasting today, Yawm al-Ahad, Sunday, you are on safe foundations, that you're not going to miss Laylatul Qadr. Laylatul Qadr would be, of course, on the odd nights of the last 1/3 of Ramadan. What about those who chose to follow the bogus Saudi announcement? You have to accept, I have the right to use this language. The Saudis have been consistently bogus in their announcements concerning the beginning of Ramadan and the day of Eid. Consistently bogus. It's a bogus regime there in Saudi Arabia. So if you are in Britain and you have chosen to follow a Saudi announcement, which is not based on sighting of the moon, it's based on a scientifically pre-calculated calendar. That's what the Saudis have done. And you choose to follow the Saudi announcement, which could have been made even before Shaban had commenced. They already knew, long before Ramadan, they already knew when the month of Ramadan will begin, because they don't care for the moon. They have abandoned the moon. And if you follow them, you will also have abandoned the moon, and therefore abandon the Sunnah, and abandon the Fitrah, or the natural way of life that's given to us by Allah. Do please view my lecture on my YouTube channel on, what's the title? Islam and the System of Time. The System of Time. View that lecture. And in addition to that, do please read my book, the Quran and the Moon, so you get an understanding of the subject of time. And you will not make the mistake that they are making of following that bogus Saudi announcement. This is particularly for those of you who are in Britain, because I don't know what kind of malady there is, that there are so many who choose to follow a bogus Saudi or a bogus Moroccan declaration. The Moroccans are not as bad as the Saudis. Now then, having fasted for the first day, and now for you, by the time this video reaches you, it is the second day of Ramadan. On the first day of Ramadan, did you recite your juz? I asked you in my first talk, this is my second talk of Ramadan, that on the first day you were supposed to recite your juz of the Quran. Juz means part, in order to fulfill the duty in Ramadan of reciting the whole Quran from cover to cover. This is not only the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, this is also Allah's Sunnah. he recited the whole Quran through Jibreel alayhi salam to Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam every Ramadan. And he says in the Quran, بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم فإذا قرأناه فاتبع قرآنه. And when I have recited the Quran, O Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, you must follow that way of recitation. And his way of recitation, of course, it's not possible for you to dispute it. It's to recite the whole of Surah Al-Baqarah on the first day of Ramadan. One of the reasons why Allah has placed the longest surah of all at the beginning of the Quran is to test us. The Quran has not been divided into surahs for the purpose of study. Okay? Listen to me. If you want to spend this Ramadan studying the Quran, you do not study the Quran by first studying Surah Al-Fatiha, and then Surah Al-Baqarah, and then Surah Ali Imran, and then Surah An-Nisa. No, that is not the way. Allah did not divide the Quran into surahs for the purpose of study. He says so in the Quran, that He has divided the Quran into surahs for recitation. Qur'anan faraknahu litakrahu ala nasi ala mukfin. I have divided this Quran into surahs so that it can be recited to the people at intervals. And so when He gives us the longest surah of all at the beginning, it is to test us, among other things, to test us. Which of us will recite the whole surah on the first of Ramadan, and which of us are going to chop the surah sinfully so, to recite a small portion, maybe 141 verses, and you call that enough, and you go to sleep. Not at all. So on the first day of Ramadan, Alhamdulillah, you recited the whole of Al-Baqarah. May Allah accept your recitation. I'm happy with you. And now on the second day of Ramadan, when you view this video, on the second day of Ramadan, you must recite the whole of Surah Ali Imran. Even my critics, I'm urging you, my critics, don't be so hostile to me. Please learn from me. I'm teaching you. It will be for your own benefit to recite the whole of Surah Ali Imran on the second day of Ramadan. And you'll get all the ajza. Ajza is the plural of juz. You'll find them all in my book entitled The Quran and the Moon. So do please go to the internet and find that book and read that book. This is all I need to say to you today on this, the second day of Ramadan, and pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may help you to recite the whole Quran in Ramadan, inshallah. Thank you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.